This video is concerned with skills audit. Now, this is an important topic, and it's widely used by organizations and individuals. Simply, it's important for companies, for example, to know what the skill base of their workers is. What is the combined set of skills that the workers have got? And how competent are they in those skills? It's important to know that because the company needs to compete in the market, make a quality product, deliver a quality service. And to do that, it requires a certain set of skills on the part of its workforce, on the part of its management, and on the part of the shop floor staff. The aim of a skills audit is to assess individuals' development needs, taking particular interest in a range of skills that an individual, say, currently possesses. So it's doing a gap analysis. It's looking at what the workers have got right now and what is required. And it's trying to assess if there is a gap that needs to be filled, if more training is required, or if recruitment needs to be amended in a way that will ensure that future personnel coming into the company will have certain sets of skills. So it's aiming to determine what are the current set of skills and compare that with what's required. The audit provides a review of the individual's current skills and skills I should say, that are needed to develop for future career purposes. So the skills audit is a two-blade sword. First of all, the company benefits, because the company can now assess what the skills of its workforce are, and it can look at the skills of its workforce and try to determine if further training is required or what's needed in order to bring its workforce and its management up to a level which will enable them to compete effectively in the marketplace. So it's ensuring that the workforce have the skills and the competencies necessary to compete effectively in the marketplace. But the second side is that the individual can also benefit, because the individual, by looking at his or her own skills, is able to decide whether they are equipped for certain jobs in the market, for certain positions in the market. So certain jobs which are well paid with good conditions may have certain requirements. The requirements are the possession of certain skills. Well, the individual, through a skills audit, can then determine whether he or she has got those set of skills, or whether he or she should engage in further training or do extra qualifications. So there are two sides here. One is the company benefits, and the other side is the individual benefits from a skills audit. Now, skills can include a wide range of skills, a wide range covering the individual, and I'm not going to go through all of these in detail, but that's a list that the literature seems to throw up, and as you can see, it's very wide-ranging. Verbal skills, communication skills, being able to communicate effectively, and listening skills, being attentive and being able to work out what's been said and what's required. Written skills, being able to produce emails and presentations and produce literature for the company. So it runs all the way through, and even skill 11, which looks very broad, key skills. Generally speaking, we think of key skills in terms of the ability to read and write and do numeracy. But the key skill may also include some particular task in the company that the management assumes everyone can do. That would be a key skill. The key skill, which is it's necessary for the company that everyone can do it and that they have enough staff to be able to perform that particular task. It's a key requirement. But as you can see, the list is quite long, and you can read over this and do some research into it yourself. It's quite straightforward. Now let's go back to the skill audit. Well, all forms of employment seek certain skills and qualifications which enable employees to do their job. So all employment requires certain skills. It may be the requirement to keep the company neat and tidy. That's a skill. It may be the requirement to keep the stores organized and be able to move the stock around and get it sorted out. That's a skill. So we can imagine skills as being somewhat lower level skills of tidying up and making sure everything looks spick and span, or it could be high level skills, people using advanced computer technology or using robotics or using advanced accountancy skills. So you can imagine the range of skills may vary widely. But it's important that the company be able to look at individuals and know that their skills are suited for the tasks which is required of them. In order to carry out a skills audit, the following 5-step process should be carried out. Now, I say the following 5-step process. You'll see in some texts it's down to three steps, and some have actually got 6 steps, and so it depends on what you read. We've selected here a 5-step process because it's a good compromise. It's not too short and it's not too long, and it conveys what we want to say. So our 5-step process, which is taken from the literature, in stage 1 we identify the individual's current skills and knowledge. Well, you must start from somewhere, so we must start with what we've got right now, which is the current skill set. It's what they've got right now. Consider skills and knowledge that need to be developed. So if you know what the current skills are, then that's an indicator of the type of skills that need to be developed. So the company may put on a series of training programs or sponsor courses at local colleges, or agree to staff attending colleges and pay for their fees and give them time off and so on. One way or the other, the company is trying to address a skills gap. It knows what the current skills are, and it knows what it requires, and if there's a difference, it tries to plug the difference. Now, when we talk about competency, evaluate current competency, we're entering into a different area, and a very important area. Saying that someone has got certain skills, for example, someone's got numeracy skills, but in a sense it doesn't tell us anything. I mean, what sort of numeracy skills? Is it very basic numeracy skills, the ability to count? Or is it higher mathematics? So what is the level of competency in that area? If someone's got good communication skills, what do we mean by good communication skills? They are polished performers in presentations, or they're just able to get the message across. So we need to assess competency. It's not just good enough to say certain skills are required, but their ability to use the skills and to apply the skills, their competency, their efficiency in using the skills must be assessed also. So skills are not just terms like numeracy or communication skills, they have rankings and they need to be assessed, and that's very important. Stage 4 is review of ability. Having got a picture of the current skills and what needs to be developed and the level of competency within the individuals in terms of their skill set, review the ability, review the overall position of the business and see what is required. And stage 5, assess future development needs. Look at what immediate development needs are required to bring the workforce up to speed, to bring the workforce up to the standard required for the business to be successful. And then put in place something about the future development needs. Put a long-term plan in place for on-the-job training perhaps. Or change the recruitment policy to include certain skills right from the outset. Now let's look at each of these just briefly in turn, just to make sure we've got a full picture of each one. I've actually copied down the skills, the list we've got. I'll go back to it. The list we've got here, 1 to 5. I just take 1 and 2 here. So stages 1 and 2, and I've copied them onto the bottom of the slide in green, as you can see. So it's just a reminder of what we're talking about. Now let's talk about stage 1. Well, list skills and knowledge that the individual currently possesses and which are adequate for his or her current or future career. So stage 1 is to determine what skills the individual has got right now by doing the audit, by perhaps interviewing the person or asking them to fill out some sort of questionnaire or going back through their employment records and seeing what they've got and trying to assess their current skill levels. Since joining the company, they may have increased their skill levels, so perhaps what's on the employment record is not current. So it's important to try to assess what they've got right now. And stage 2, list the skills and knowledge which the individual may want to develop or which may be important for future career prospects. As I said earlier, it's a two-edged issue here. The company wants the workers to have high-level skills and good competency and be very much aware of the requirements of the job and be capable of delivering the aspirations of the business in terms of the quality product and efficiently produced and efficiently distributed to the customer, etc. But also the individual worker will be interested in their own skills to see what they need to acquire the job that they want, the position that they want, which may have higher salary and better working conditions and so on. So the individuals have got their own aspirations, and by doing a skills audit they're able to assess what they've currently got and what the market currently requires, so that they can take steps themselves to bridge any gap between the two. Now 3, evaluate competency level. Well, as you'd expect, this is somewhat more complex, but it's necessary to take it on board that it's not just having the skill, but it's having the competency, the ability to use the skill, know what the skill is, to apply the skill. That's the competency. So apply it to you, for example. Now consider the individual's current skills and let's say it's your competency levels. How well can you perform? What skills have you got? And how can you bring those skills to bear on the problems that the company faces and bring them to bear efficiently to solve those problems and to make a contribution? So how competent is the individual with his or her current skill? So just to say somebody's got numeracy skills doesn't mean anything. It's what level are the numeracy skills, and how efficient and how confident is the person in using numeracy. So we could rate this. We can imagine competency being on a scale. We can rate it to try and assess how competent people are. So it may be measured on a scale of, for example, 0 to 4. And we can do this as follows. We could say that 0 is the worker has no current knowledge or skill. 0, nothing. So the worker has no idea about this particular skill. So the competency is 0. 1 is they're aware of the situation, but not adequately competent to use the skill. Let's say it's a worker in an engineering business who's been recruited to an engineering business. Now let's say they are taken onto the shop floor, this worker, and they see a milling machine or a lathe or a drilling machine. Now they're aware of the machine. They know these machines exist, but they can't use it. They're not competent to use it. That's a level 1. A level 2, if we can continue the analogy here with the engineering position we just mentioned. In this case, the person is familiar with the skill and can use the knowledge or the skill. So they're slightly more confident. This time the worker is shown the drilling machine and they say, yes, I know what this is. It's a drilling machine and I can use it. And I can demonstrate that I can use it. So that's a level 2 competency. A level 3 is highly competent in the skill. So confident that they're able to show others how to use it. They're able to train others because they are quite expert in using this. Back to the engineering analogy again, the person sees the drilling machine and they are expert at setting it up and using it, and they can teach others how to do it as well. So it's a high level competency. It's a level 3. Level 4, they're fully competent with the skill and can express comprehensive knowledge of the skill. Back to engineering again, the person sees the drilling machine, recognizes it as a drilling machine and can use it expertly. In fact, if the machine were to break down, they could fix it. They are an expert with this particular machine. They are fully competent. So we can imagine competency being measured on a scale of 0 to 4 using this type of grading. That's stage 3. Now let's talk about stage 4. Review of ability. Well, you could apply this activity to yourself. Reviewing your skills audit with a colleague. So you're reviewing the rating. A tutor or a friend may be a good idea. Someone who you can trust and is able to correctly advise you. So you have looked at your skills and you have looked at your competency ratings. It's time to sit down with a colleague and try to be objective and say, is this reasonable? Is this fair? Is this right? So you're reviewing your own ability. Have the gradings been done correctly? Have I a competency rating of 3 in that? I think it's more. And have someone who's quite objective and quite fair assess it with you and explain why you've got a 3 as opposed to a 4 or whatever it is. The stage involves discussing your current skill level and receiving constructive feedback. Ideally, you should be discussing ways to develop your skill level and taking initiatives that will help you to do so. So it's important to look at your skill level and develop a development plan that will enable you to set goals for yourself, what you want to achieve in the next year, the next 3 years, what sort of qualifications you require, what sort of competencies you need to brush up on and you need to develop. So use this ability review exercise to get quite objective comment about yourself if possible. Now stage 5 is assess future development needs. Well, this stage involves utilizing the information that's been gathered to find ways or methods of further developing the individual skills. So it's utilizing the information that's been gathered to try and to see what can be done about developing individual skills. The stage is about self-discovery and assessing your capabilities. It's about looking into yourself and asking quite blunt and honest questions. Are you capable of doing this job? What skills have you got? How confident are you with your skills that you can do the job? Or do you need further training? So consider such questions as, what skills do I need to develop? And be honest. Be honest with yourself. It's you looking into yourself. And what am I going to do to develop these skills? If you recognize the skills, what course of action will you take? Go to a local college, sign on to a course, seek out some training scheme. What's your tactic to enable you to acquire those skills? This discussion takes us to the skill gap. A skills gap refers to skills that the individual does not have but will require for future career success. So it's a gap between what the individual has but what the individual needs to be successful in the labour market. So a skills gap is the difference between what the person has and what they require. Addressing the skills gap will benefit the individual in terms of employability. When the skills gap is being reduced, there will be greater employability and the individual will have a better job and have a better position. We can also recognize a qualification gap. Now this refers to the qualification that the individual needs for career success but does not currently have. So it's the individual saying they need this qualification but they don't have it at the moment. So the need to acquire this qualification, whatever the qualification is, membership of a professional institute, or the need to be a graduate, or the need to have a diploma in something, or the need to have something but they don't currently have it. That's the qualification gap. Now the skill audit layout, well, a skills audit is broken down into the following parts. First of all, behavioural skills, personal and interpersonal skills, communication, time management, team working, problem solving, computers, numeracy, literacy, leadership skills, the personal sort of skills, the behavioural skills. So a skills gap, or a skills audit I should say, a skills audit looks at behavioural issues and behavioural skills and tries to assess whether the individual has got good communication skills, or whether the individual is good at time management or a good team worker or whatever. So these are behavioural. And then there are the technical skills, specialist skills that you need to do the job. If it's an engineering business, you may have to have certain technical skills. It's not just sufficient to be a good communicator and to be a pleasant person, be able to work in a team. You have to actually do a particular job, and that job may require technical skills, the ability to use a machine or the ability to design something or to modify something. It's a technical skill. So there are two parts to the skills audit. A skills audit sheet could look something like that. You have a skill down the left-hand side, or a set of skills, verbal communication skills, listening skills, numeracy skills, and so on. Then we have the skill level, which we talked about earlier, the competency, 0 to 4. So which level is this one at? It's a competency or a skill level. So listening skills, is a person a good listener or not such a good listener? Is it a 4 or a 1 or a 3 or a 2 or whatever it is? And based on what the skill level is, training needs could be determined. If the person is not scoring high on this set of skills, they may need training. But also, why were they given a low score? Justify it. On what basis were they given a lower score? So a skills audit sheet could look something like that. Now, organizational use. Well, skills are commonly used by organizations in order to assess employee skills and needs. Skills audits are useful during performance appraisals, in which employees can discuss any skills gap and types of resources or facilities available to them to develop their skills. So this type of information is particularly good during, say, an annual performance appraisal, when some evidence is brought down in the skills audit sheet to say that a person is weak in a certain skill, and during the appraisal a certain course of action may be recommended to help. If employee skills or qualification gaps have been recognized by management, they may help the employees achieve these skills. Management generally don't like a lot of staff turnover. They may take the existing staff and recognize that they are deficient in certain skills. They are not capable in certain ways, and they haven't got high competency ratings in certain skills. So instead of being draconian and asking the people to leave, they may be more supportive. It will encourage greater involvement with the business, greater loyalty, greater motivation, and it will probably yield better results in the long run. But by providing training programs, the workers become more involved. Now, the types of training, well, we can imagine quite a list here. It could be coaching and mentoring, where a senior member of staff takes on a junior member of staff and teaches him or her about the job, about what's happened and how the job is conducted and so on. It could be on-the-job training, just letting people watch what happens in work and getting involved and learning by doing. There could be secondments, where workers are given time off to attend a local college or to get experience somewhere else. I'm not going to go through the list here. You can read down this. It's quite straightforward. But essentially what it bubbles down to is the fact that the company may support the individual workers and individual members of management if they are short of certain competencies and skills, by putting in place some supportive mechanism to enable them to get up to speed. So that concludes all I want to say about the skills audit, and I want to leave it at that and say thank you for watching.